with the family, I hope you die in prison as well.
You better hope I never get out of jail. Is it by your wife? Your wife. Your wife is getting.
Shame on you, girl. I don't
That is enough.
I don't know.
That is enough,
Mr. Deputy.
You know what? I've had enough. You cut her throat twice. You stabbed her 8 times. You cold-blooded fucking killer.
We start off with Quincy Tuttle.
Get the fuck!
Who's charged with firearm theft and unlawful possession of a weapon on school premises in Vancouver, Washington. Tuttle was taken into custody at Frontier Middle School when his friends saw a handgun, 400 rounds of ammunition, and kitchen knives in his backpack. Allegedly, Tuttle had plans to kill another student who had bullied his friend for being gay. In court, Tuttle hoped the judge would let him stay home during the trial process.
Is someone at home to monitor him? You're home all day? Okay. And as far as any issues regarding firearms, or any firearms in the home at this time? No. Okay. Any other dangerous weapons that are in the home? So, that being said, Your Honor, I'd ask the court to possibly consider releasing the parents.
The parents promised to look after him, but the judge wasn't buying it.
I have concerns about the mental health issues, the ideation, the anger. I've been told this morning that now there's locks on the front door and back door, but as of yesterday, they were non-operational. So I feel that at this point he needs to be held in order to protect him from himself and also the community. So that's going to be my decision today.
But when a kid with anger issues doesn't get what he wants, things get dangerous. At first, it was just tears.
Quincy, we got the plot, all right? We're going to do next. Quincy, we're going to do next. Come on. Don't fight me on this. Let's go. Come on.
But things quickly escalated. Quincy exploded.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go then.
Get the fuck!
He yanked his shirt out of the attorney's grasp and bolted toward the doors. In the end, Quincy was sentenced to 2 years in juvie, as well as mandatory anger management classes. Quincy might have let out a few curse words, but what happens when someone's foul rant is so bad it causes a delay in court?
You pussy. You pussy. You pussy. You started it in the hole. And he do not tell you fuck up.
Like in the case of Dajour Maurice Hall, who's facing charges for possession of a weapon by a convicted felon and attempted murder in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Hall was arrested after going on a shooting spree where he fired shots into both a crowded nightclub and then later a home with children inside. Hall was handcuffed and brought to court to decide his bond, but before the judge could begin, Hall exploded.
Man, get me out of the court, man. I don't even want to be through this shit, man. This nigga's hustling, he gonna stare at me, boy. You pussy. You pussy. You pussy.
Hall spewed curse words so nasty that the other guards had to step in.
You started it in the hole. And he do not tell you fuck boy. Fuck boy.
Hall showed no signs of stopping, so the guards had to take action.
Man, I don't give a fuck about none of that. Fuck boy. Shit ain't over with. You pussy, what?
Hall refused to calm down, even as he was dragged out of court.
You pussy. You started it, pussy. You pussy. You pussy. You got to go on me, pussy. You gonna fuck lock up, what?
But if you thought that would be the end of it, think again.
All right, let's bring them. Let's bring your victims back. I'm not going to deny there, right?
Hall walked back into court with a smile on his face, but that smile wouldn't stay for very long. Because of Hall's mouth and his criminal record, the judge temporarily denied his bond.
Mr. Hall, based on what I'm hearing, and seemingly there's going to be some other stuff that's coming on, I do feel that this court should defer your bond to be set over in General Sessions Court as opposed to me setting it today. which means that you will be going before the general session judge in order for that judge to set your bond. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
This particular time, we're going to deny the bond on Mr. Hall.
The judge denied bond because of Hall's dirty mouth, but how does that compare to a defendant who flips tables and screams like a madman?
Stop taking me off my meds! And my mom and my doctors knew what you guys were doing to me! I have a broken hand!
Like in the case of Zachariah Kraft, who's charged with assaulting peace officers in Belgrade, Montana. Kraft was already in court for disorderly conduct in an unrelated case. However, when the judge laid out Kraft's charges, things didn't go over well.
I don't understand why I'm getting charged with a felony. I've been doing my best.
As the judge explained his charges, Kraft suddenly erupted.
You took me off my meds!
It's a yes or no question, all right?
Stop taking me off my meds! And my mom and my doctors knew what you guys were doing to me! I have a broken hand!
Officers grabbed Kraft and wrestled him to the ground.
Stop. I have a broken hand!
Then, Kraft was carried out of the room. According to Lieutenant Jared, a supervisor at the jail, Kraft's outburst was quickly dealt with.
He's been placed in an isolated holding cell where he's not going to get anybody else in trouble, and we can keep a close eye on him and make sure he doesn't harm himself.
Kraft's outburst was violent but harmless. But how can that compare to a defendant who begs for the death penalty?
You need to be careful. Do you understand?
Put me to death. That's what's happening anyway. He's framed.
All right.
That's the way it is. And justice will be served.
Like in the case of Jonathan Sander, who's facing 3 counts of homicide in Raleigh, North Carolina. Sander was arrested when a neighborly dispute led him to kill his neighbor's wife, and her mother. During the interrogation, Sander's voice was chillingly calm.
It just went blank, and the last thing I remember was seeing Sandy laying on the floor.
In court, Sander showed even less remorse.
Yeah, with no blood under it.
Mr. Sander, please be quiet.
It's fact.
Mr. Sander, Mr. Sander.
What were her last words?
What everybody else did that's watching us. No blood under that wound.
Sander was so disruptive that even the judge was sick of him.
Mr. Sander, please be...
This is my life involved. I was framed.
Remove him from the courtroom, please.
Remove me from the courtroom.
Hey, stop it!
Hey! Yeah!
His actions were even more heartless, considering the only surviving family member was in the audience watching him.
My wife, once she got shot, she said 3 words. 3 words. Oh my God. And that's it. She vanished.
Salvatore Mazzea could barely give his testimony.
I saw him with a gun point at my wife, and I tried to go back in the dining room to get something heavy to hit him over the head, but I didn't have a chance.
And Sander's repeated outbursts made things even more difficult.
Laundry room?
Yes.
And
you're telling me I blasted through the laundry
Mr. Sander, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Mr. Sander, Mr. Sander, Mr. Sander.
Sanders claimed he only shot 1 bullet. He blamed the 3 deaths on Salvatore Mazzea himself.
When I did shoot Sandy, I shot him low on his stomach 1 time. That's the one with the bullets that made the black marks. I barely wounded him, and I left. After I left, Sal Mazzella shot and killed his family. Why? For insurance money.
There was only one time Sanders showed emotion in court, and it was this.
Hey Dad, I really, really love you. I also miss you. I miss you every day. I remember when we used to buy Hot Wheels and watch SpongeBob. If you were never to come back, I will be so sad. I will cry every day.
Sanders' wife came to court and read him letters from their 3 young children.
The family and cats miss you. I hope you get out of jail soon. Love, your best friend. I'm sorry.
But shockingly, Sanders wanted to set his own sentence.
You need to be careful. Do you understand?
Put me to death. That's what's happening anyway. It's framed.
All right.
That's the way it is. And justice will be served.
He asked the judge for the death penalty. Then, the moment he was waiting for.
We, the jury, by unanimous verdict, find the defendant, John Frederick Sander, to be guilty of first-degree murder of Sandy Mozilla.
The judge did not grant Sanders' request. Instead, he sentenced him to life in prison.
And when you take your last breath, you're going to die alone, and you're going to die forgotten.
Sanders' theory that Mozilla killed his own family was too ridiculous to entertain. But what happens when the defendant calls their judge every ugly name under the sun?
Who is this bitch in Cynthia Cuba? Tell me!
I think you allegedly tried to hit with the pliers.
Like in the case of Sherry Lynn, who's facing charges for felony battery and violently resisting arrest in Miami, Florida. Lynn was arrested after beating and or stabbing a woman named Cynthia Cuba with a pair of pliers. In court, things start off with a bang.
But have you ever been treated for any mental health issues?
Why don't you go fuck yourself first?
Another judge might have found that offensive, but Judge Frazier let out a chuckle.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
I said go fuck yourself.
Okay, well, I'm a little busy right now.
But soon enough, she gets down to business.
And I'm ordering that you stay away from Cynthia Cuba. Do not have any contact with her, and you must stay away from her home and place of business. As to the other case...
Who is this bitch in Cynthia Cuba? Tell me!
I think you allegedly tried to hit with the pliers.
Apparently that doesn't ring a bell.
The other case, F15-1426, the bond on count is $5,000.
Leave counts 2 and 3.
Despite the verbal onslaught, Judge Frazier ignores her, and Lynn's lawyer makes an executive decision.
$5,000 and count 3 is $1,000. Have a nice day, ma'am. I'll try and get you into the hospital.
The judge sent Lynn to a psychiatric hospital to undergo evaluation before trial. Lynn's verbal attacks might have been unexpected, but how can that compare to a TikTok star who takes his murderous mafia boss online persona into the real world? Like in the case of Ali Abulahban, who's charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in San Diego, California. Abulahban went viral on TikTok for role-playing movie characters.
Speak English when you talk to me, okay? That was English. I'll have a venti, caramel, dolce. What the f*** you talking about? A venti. What is that? A large?
But on October 21st, 2021, Abulahban entered his apartment to find a horrifying scene.
Yes, ma'am. My wife and another man were, I found them dead on the couch.
Then he suddenly got hysterical.
Okay, stand by.
No, my wife, please don't.
Okay, hold on, sir.
Please don't.
Tell me what you saw when you went in there.
I saw my wife on the couch with my head on her head.
Wife is on her?
I don't know who he is. I know him. He's been great.
Ray? Okay, your wife was shot in the face. Is that what you said?
Yeah, on the forehead. And he had 2 or 3 bullets in the head.
He claimed his wife, Anna, had been shot to death alongside another man in their apartment. But when police got there, Abulahban was gone. The bodies of Anna, Abulahban, and their mutual friend Ray were found on the couch. Abulahban claimed he stumbled upon the crime scene after coming home from work. But little did he know, their neighbor's Ring camera recorded the entire thing. Through investigation, police discovered that Anna had filed for divorce due to Abulahban's controlling nature. Spiraling, Abulahban broke into his wife's apartment, installed audio recording spyware onto his daughter's tablet, and kept tabs on his wife through the tablet. When he heard another man's voice in her apartment, he snapped. After the crime, Abulahban called his mom in tears. Abulahban, who fled the crime scene after calling 911, was caught speeding down the highway. When police pulled him over, his 5-year-old daughter was found in the back seat next to a handgun. While in jail awaiting trial, Abulahban blamed Anna for his failed marriage.
My wife brought us. She wanted me to move her out here with all her friends to a life where there's Taco Tuesday, Women Wednesday, Party Saturday, Bar Sunday.
In court, however, Anna's best friend exposed the true Ali Abulahban.
He just always had to be better than everybody else in the room. He spoke down to a lot of us. It actually kind of made me distance myself toward the end because I just couldn't stand being around him. He made everybody in the room feel uncomfortable.
Then the court heard audio messages that left viewers disgusted.
Wish we never had a kid together because of how stupid you are. And I can't wait to divorce you. You're gonna be sitting on the couch, drinking your tequila, sitting next to your gym rat boyfriend with tattoos who doesn't have the brain to hold a conversation, and you're gonna watch Netflix one day, and you're gonna see my face on Netflix. Hey, isn't that your husband? And your daughter is my daughter. So you're gonna see my face for the rest of your life.
Despite his tears, Abulahban could not convince the jury he was innocent, especially not when he does this.
Oh, get the I'm not gonna tolerate this.
During cross-examination, Abulahban could barely contain his anger.
You were looking up trash cans because you wanted to hide some bodies, correct?
I'm sorry. You're out of your mind.
You were also researching teen porn videos, correct?
What? What did you just say?
That's what you were researching, correct?
Say it again?
Teen videos.
You're out your mind.
On October 19th, you were researching Sean Torres, correct?
Show me the teen you just said. You want to paint me as some kind of child molester? Show me show me. What you just said. I've never seen that in the Discovery. I've been incarcerated 3 years. You never showed that to my team. Where did you get that?
It's in your phone.
Do it, show it.
Obviously, his conviction wasn't enough to convince the jury.
We, the jury in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Ali Nasser Abulahban, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree.
Silence.
Abulahban couldn't believe his ears, but he's not out of the woods yet. Watch Abulahban's reaction as he finally learns his sentence.
The bottom line here is he will die in prison. He will never be a free man. He will take his last breath there. Please.
Abulahban's strange courtroom behavior didn't earn him any sympathy points from the jury. But what happens when a defendant gets into a fist fight with the courtroom security guards? Like in the case of Anthony Mathews, who's in court facing traffic violation charges in Dayton, Ohio. Mathews, representing himself, constantly interrupted the judge during proceedings.
I did not care to take part in fraud, not at all.
When the judge threatened to hold Mathews in contempt of court, things got violent. Mathews got into a fight with the deputies, and soon he started throwing punches. A team of 5 deputies got Mathews under control, but not without some injuries. The next day in court, Mathews appeared with a swollen eye, but he had a surprising change of heart.
Yesterday's proceeding was in error on my behalf. Totally, I take full blame for my actions.
Because of Mathews' sincere apology, the judge mercifully sentenced him to probation and time served. Exchanging punches with the guards is one thing, but what happens when a defendant leaps over the podium to attack their judge?
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court
Like in the case of Deobra Redden, who's facing battery charges in Las Vegas, Nevada. Arrested after picking a fight with police officers, Redden tried to convince the judge to let him go.
So basically, I would like to tell the courts everyone here, like, based on my criminal history, like, I feel that, like, I shouldn't be, like, sent to prison for a second time.
Redden truly expected to walk free, but Judge Holthus had other ideas.
Have you looked at your criminal history? Have you looked at your criminal history?
I've actually just, I looked at it, and
I mean, you lived it, I suppose.
I just lived at it,
Yeah.
This is the moment Redden learned his sentence.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else because I just can't with that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court...
Let's rewind.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else because I just can't with that history.
After that, it takes a moment for her words to settle in. But once it does, Redden explodes. Redden leapt over the podium, dragged Judge Holthus to the ground, and continued beating her, even as court employees rushed to her aid. Finally, they pulled Redden off the judge, but it took more than that to subdue him. Redden punched the employees, and the employees punched back. Meanwhile, Judge Holthus is still on the ground. Clearly shaken by the attack, the judge is barely able to stand. Thankfully, she wasn't seriously injured. But that's not the last she would see of Redden. The next time Redden appeared in court, he was in a spit mask, handcuffs, and boxing gloves. Surprisingly, Judge Holthus stayed on the case, and she was about to announce Redden's sentence.
All right, that being said, in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court does now sentence 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections.
Redden got up to 4 years for the original crime. As for his attack, that sentence has yet to be released. Redden's actions may seem shockingly violent, but how can that compare to a defendant who left his victims in a pool of their own blood? Like in the case of Bampumin Teixeira, who's charged with home invasion, kidnapping, armed robbery, and 2 counts of first-degree murder in Boston, Massachusetts. On May 5th, anesthesiologist Lina Bolanos walked into her Boston penthouse, unaware that she and her fiancé were being stalked.
Tonight, 2 doctors murdered inside a luxury South Boston penthouse identified. 49-year-old Dr. Richard Fields and 38-year-old Lina Bolanos, both anesthesiologists. They were killed last night.
Friends of the victims called police after receiving text messages saying, "Call 911, gunman in house," and other worrying statements. Police got there quickly, so quickly that they caught the murderer still at the crime scene.
The officers encountered that intruder, turned out to be Teixeira, in a darkened interior hallway. The officers believed that this assailant either pointed or fired a weapon at them in this dark hallway.
Officers returned fire, shooting Teixeira in the hand, abdomen, and leg before handcuffing him and taking him to the hospital. Barely conscious in his hospital bed, Teixeira was formally charged with the murders.
Count 1, the charge of murder, with the alleged victim being Richard Field. Count 2, the crime of murder, the alleged victim being Lina Bolanos.
In court, though, he displayed more of an aggravated demeanor.
You better hope I never get out of jail. Because if I go your wife, your wife is getting.
If that wasn't bad enough, Teixeira then did this.
You want to know his last words? Be quiet. He said no. Be quiet. You would have died all the way to die inside. Any please let him out of here. Get him out of here.
Teixeira was forcibly removed from the courtroom. Meanwhile, the victim's family members broke down. For family's protection, the judge refused to allow Teixeira back inside the courtroom, for the sentencing hearing. This is his reaction to learning his sentence.
Offense 001, charging murder in the first degree. The court, in consideration of this offense, orders you committed to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Cedar Junction for and during the term of natural life without the possibility of parole.
Teixeira will serve a double life sentence for his crimes. Teixeira's lawyer tried in vain to keep Teixeira from ruining his own case. But how does that compare to a prosecutor who does their job so badly that the judge has to step in?
I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that.
Like in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, who's charged with 5 counts of homicide in Kenosha, Wisconsin. In 2020, 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse joined a racial justice protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, armed with an assault rifle. Rittenhouse claimed he intended to be a medic and brought the rifle for self-defense only. However, he quickly realized he was out of his depth and ran toward police to escape the fight. Then, he claims protesters followed him, threatening to get him. That's when he fired the gun. Now in court, Rittenhouse is facing charges for killing 2 protesters and wounding 1 more. His attorney painted a perfect picture of self-defense.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him that he fired, right?
Correct.
However, the prosecution had a bit more trouble.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense
Don't
testimony.
get brazen with me.
The prosecuting attorney tried to use Rittenhouse's silence against him, a direct violation of his Fifth Amendment right.
I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that.
But instead of admitting his mistake, he insisted the judge was the one in the wrong.
First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that. And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
May I respond to what you just said, Your Honor? I'd like to respond to what you just said. I apologize, Madam Court Reporter, but I'd like to try and make a record without anyone interrupting me, if that's okay.
Well, I said you were over the line, close to, or over the line on commenting on the defendant's pretrial silence, which is a well-known rule. I'm astonished that would have been an issue. So I don't want to have another issue as long as this case continues. Is that clear?
It is.
Even the defense attorney was fed up.
He knows if you're going to go into something that's been excluded in a pretrial order, you better ask the court, you better get permission. This is ridiculous.
It wasn't excluded, Your Honor.
But eventually, the jury came back with their verdict.
The defendant will rise and face the jury and hearken to its verdicts.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Members of the jury, are these your unanimous verdicts? Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury polled?
Rittenhouse almost fainted with relief when he heard his sentence. But how does that compare to a defendant whose sentence fills him with murderous rage?
The bruises, some of the bruises were in the shape of a belt buckle.
Man, I ain't gonna let you sit here and say no crazy shit about me, man.
Like in the case of Elis Ortiz Nieves, who's facing charges for felony murder and first-degree child abuse in Grand Rapids, Michigan. On June 13th, 2017, Ortiz was babysitting his girlfriend's 7 children when he realized one of them, 4-year-old Giovanni, wasn't breathing.
Kent County Sheriff's Department says that he was watching 7 kids this morning who live here at this house on Green Meadow Street Southeast. Deputies received a call about a 4-year-old who was not breathing.
He was rushed to the hospital where he later died from blunt force trauma. At the hospital, doctors found evidence of child abuse, 2 broken ribs, cigarette burns, and bruises in various stages of healing. In court, Ortiz came face to face with the cold, hard truth.
You beat this child, you brutalized this child, and you tortured this child.
However, Ortiz maintained his innocence.
I'm going to continue to say I will take a lie detector test to prove that I never abused any of Sonia's kids or never abused Giovanni and never intentionally meant to hurt Giovanni but to help him.
The judge didn't believe him.
There is no question whatsoever that you committed this murder and that you beat this little boy to death.
Man, I ain't gonna let you, man. I ain't gonna let you sit here and say no crazy shit about me, man. No, man, because he's saying he don't even know, man.
Sir, the testimony showed that you put this child and other child in a shower with ice cold water.
The judge tried to maintain order, but Ortiz was out for blood. It took 3 deputies, but Ortiz was eventually overpowered. After that, the judge called him back to hear his sentence.
You are the lowest form of human life that I've been able to observe or see. You are a monster, and quite frankly, you are evil. What you did was sickening and disgusting. We're done. Take him to prison, please.
Ortiz was sentenced to life without parole. In a twist of fate, Giovanni's mother was also arrested for failure to protect her children from Ortiz's abuse and for lying on the stand about the lack of violence in the home.
My first charge is perjury. I lied under oath for a man who I thought loved and cared for me. And I have to live with the fact that I failed my children. I wanted to apologize to my family, my children, my lawyer, and the court.
She seemed remorseful, but that all changed once she was actually put in jail.
And everybody knows me as a person, knows I'm a great parent, so I don't care about what anybody has to say. They're just trying to make an example out of me.
Are you a good mother?
Of course. I work 3 jobs to support my children with no assistance.
She will serve 5 to 10 years in prison. These evil parents' courtroom behavior was despicable. But what happens when a defendant calls their judge a slur?
Here, once you get it, we'll get it. Thanks. Is there something that you wish to say to me?
No, it's my brother.
Like in the case of Adam Satterly, who's facing drug charges in Louisville, Kentucky. Satterly was in court again after breaking the conditions of his bond. Then Judge Stevens revoked his bond, prompting this outburst.
Taking into custody, bonds of $5,000, 10%. You have the bond returned to you. I've signed this order here. Once you get it, then we'll get it. Thanks.
Judge Stevens immediately called Satterly back in.
Is there something that you wish to say to me?
No, it's my brother.
Oh, was that to your brother? Because I heard you say a racial epithet.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
Oh, you didn't mean it like
No.
that? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court for having said that. And you don't speak those words in here.
Yes,
and
sir.
that word particularly,
Yes,
you
sir.
don't use that word. I'm going to give you 60 days for having used that word. Hold you in contempt right now for having done it in this courtroom. It's disrespectful. Don't ever do it again.
Judge Stevens sentenced Satterly to 60 days for contempt. After spending his first night in jail, Satterly seemed to have a change of heart.
I apologize. It wasn't intended for you. I was mad at my brother, that's all it was.
All right. Well, you can have a seat.
But would the judge accept his apology?
I don't know how it could be directed at your brother, but at any rate, I accept your apology. I'm going to credit your time served at this point, and you will be returned to your previous bond, $5,000, 10%.
The judge dropped the contempt charge and placed him on a new bond, $500. Satterly barely avoided a prison sentence. But how does that compare to a wife killer who taunts his victim's family in court?
Shame on you, Cheryl. I don't
That is enough.
I don't know.
That is enough,
Mr. Deputy.
You
know what? I've had enough. You cut her throat twice. You stabbed her 8 times. You cold-blooded fucking killer.
Like like in the case of William Dembie Jr., who's charged with felonious assault and murder in Columbia Station, Ohio. On August 11th, 2011, prison guard William Dembie called 911.
Yeah, I killed her.
You killed her?
Yeah.
Who did you
No, I
kill?
sent somebody. 14900 Cowley.
Who did you kill, Dembie?
My wife.
Dembie claimed that he came home from work, got into a dispute with his wife, and stabbed her with a military-grade knife. She fell through a second-story window while attempting to escape. Then, Dembie went to the backyard, where she fell and continued stabbing her.
Hey, you're flight at 14900 Cowley Road.
They got a fight?
You're like almost a beating, yeah.
A beating?
Yeah, I killed her.
Police officers arrived to find his wife's body nude in the backyard. Dembie was arrested at the scene. In court, Dembie claimed his wife Holly and mother-in-law Cheryl were emotionally abusive.
Shame on you, Cheryl. I don't know.
That is enough.
I don't know.
That is enough,
Mr. Dembie, once again, you speak to me about your relationship, if you wish, between you and Holly Dembie. I'm not interested in your position with regard to her members of her family.
Despite this warning, Dembie continued on.
I had no right doing what I did. Obviously, I wasn't thinking. I was in a place where I had no control over my actions. I can't explain it. I can't understand how and why I did what I did. I may never know. But one thing I do know, that Stewie's well-being should be the #1 priority. But it isn't.
Out of nowhere, Holly's family exploded.
But I've had enough. You cut her throat twice. You stabbed her 8 times. You cold-blooded fucking killer. Fuck! I've had enough of her fault.
Despite the commotion, Dembie was unfazed. In the end, the judge sentenced Dembie to a total of 20 years to life. Dembie incited anger with just his words. But what happens when a defendant takes on 5 security guards at once? Like in the case of Adrian Dunn, who's facing murder charges in San Antonio, Texas. On July 16, 2012, Dunn fatally shot 23-year-old Rakeem Charles during a drug deal gone wrong. Now in court, Dunn is facing a harsh sentence.
There will never be somebody like her son who has to suffer, and this family who has to suffer because of the defendant. And that's why we're asking you for a life sentence.
Dunn was shocked at the request, but that's nothing compared to his reaction to learning his sentence. The judge sentenced Dunn to life in prison. Dunn, in disbelief, refused to accept the verdict. He fought with deputies, pleading for his freedom, but it was no use.
Come on, man, y'all.
Dunn exploded after getting an unexpectedly harsh sentence. But how does that compare to a defendant who says he's too handsome to be on trial?
A young gentleman like me, young, charismatic, and fetching in these county blues, why would I be subjected to competency hearing or to an evaluation when I'm clearly, cognate?
Like in the case of Jimmy Carter Kim, who's charged with kidnapping, sexual exploitation of children, and possession of child pornography in Las Vegas. In November of 2015, Kim spotted a 15-year-old walking to her friend's house. He pulled up to her in a white van, kidnapped her, and held her hostage in his house. He gave her a bucket, barely any food, and had a camera recording her at all times. After a month of starvation and sexual abuse, she escaped to a nearby gas station and called the police. In court, Kim's lawyer tried to test him for insanity, but Kim refused to talk with doctors.
Dr. Paglini was unable to make a determination because the defendant refused to participate. Do you have a motion?
Once he realized his mistake, however, he tried backpedaling.
Can I have a say?
Pardon me?
Can I have a say in this?
Well, I tried to give you a say, but you refused to talk to the doctor.
Because I don't see what the relevance of me, why is my competency in question?
Because your lawyer challenged your competency or questioned it.
My lawyer is going against my will. He's going against my choices. He's not notifying me or informing me of any of these things.
Fed up with Kim's excuses, the judge laid things bare.
But But Nevada law isn't what you want it to be. It is what it is. And Nevada law is once your competency is raised as an issue, then 2 doctors have to say you're okay.
I understand that, but with legitimate reasons.
And 1 doctor says you're not okay as far as competency legally, and then another doctor says you refuse to talk to them. So I appreciate that you don't agree with Nevada law. I apologize that you don't agree with it. It doesn't really matter whether you agree with it or not.
That's when Kim changed his strategy, to the shock and entertainment of the court.
Well, can I ask you something? A young gentleman like me, young, charismatic, and fetching in these county blues, why would I be subjected to competency hearing or to an evaluation when I'm clearly cognizant of everything I'm doing?
Now sporting a British accent, Kim told the judge he was too fetching to be in chains.
If only fetching were the standard, I'm not going to argue with you. I appreciate and respect that you don't agree with Nevada law. I respect that. I respect you. In the meantime, you're going to Laser Stein. Thank you.
Kim's strategy didn't work, but he didn't drop the accent.
State versus Adrian C31328.
Kim tried to use a non-existent face card and a phony British accent to get out of jail. But how does that compare to a defendant who tries to earn freedom by calling his murdered victim a pig?
And what I believe happened is I slept with Jan Cornell and Leanne Deller, and they were just too much of a pig not to wash their sheets.
Like in the case of Joseph Zieler, who's charged with double homicide and sexual assault in Cape Coral, Florida. Back in 1990, mother Jan Cornell came home to a nightmare. Her 11-year-old daughter, Robin Cornell, and Robin's babysitter, Lisa Story, had both been brutally sexually assaulted and murdered. The only clue? A stain on Robin's bedsheets. For 20 years, the crime went unsolved, until...
We got him.
Zieler was arrested on an unrelated charge, but when police put his DNA in the system, it came up a match.
26 years ago, a stain was found, and they found DNA 26 years ago from an individual, and they matched the two.
Now in court, Zieler was determined to make this process as painful as possible.
That's the piece of paper right here that they're trying to hide from you.
Mr.
Right
Zieler.
I still see the body of 11-year-old Robin Cornell with the hair of her killer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the jury will step out.
At first, Zieler claimed he was innocent.
Do you know Jan Cornell?
No, I don't know Jan Cornell.
Do you know Lisa Story?
No.
Do you know Robin Cornell?
No.
But then he completely contradicted himself.
Now, did you tell the people who this letter's addressed to that you slept with Jan Cornell, Janice, and a friend of hers in 1989, and therefore that's why your DNA is in the Courtyards North condominium?
Yes, I thought so because she didn't wash her sheets.
He says he did assault the girls, but it was months before the murder. In fact, Zieler claims to know the real culprit behind this attack.
Did you profess your innocence by claiming that it was a relative of yours that did this murder?
Yes, I was trying to defend myself because no one would listen to me.
Sir, it calls for a yes or no. Did you, in the letter, profess your innocence or allege your innocence by saying that a relative of yours had done these murders?
Yes.
Then things get even worse.
And what I believe happened is I slept with Jan Cornell and Leanne Deller, and they were just too much of a pig not to wash their sheets.
The prosecutor could barely believe his ears.
Your DNA would have still been there 5 months later.
Yes.
And that's because they're pigs and they don't wash their sheets,
exactly.
Right? You know that?
Well, I assume that, just like you're assuming that.
But just so the record's clear, when I said they're pigs and they wash their sheets, that's what you said.
Absolutely.
After that ruckus, it was time for Zieler to learn the jury's verdict.
At least 8 jurors recommend that Joseph Adam Zieler should be sentenced to death. Yes.
by a vote of 10 for a sentence of death and 2 for a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years.
Zieler stayed calm, but underneath, he was plotting revenge. It started during the sentencing hearing when Zieler motioned his attorney over to him. But when his attorney leans close, wham! Zieler elbows his attorney in the face.
What's that?
Zieler is tackled to the floor. Meanwhile, his wounded attorney returns to his seat.
Are you okay? I'm fine. I used to box. I've taken a lot better shots than that.
Calling the victim's mother a pig is bad enough, but how can that compare to calling the judge a bitch?
You gonna raise your voice at me?
Oh my God.
You raise your voice to me, I raise my voice to you. You just in a row.
Like in the case of Michael Gaines, who's charged with battery of law enforcement personnel in Wichita, Kansas. In 2008, Gaines got into a jailhouse fight with 2 prison guards. During the fight, Gaines punched, kicked, and even spit on the guards, a fact made more complex by Gaines's positive HIV diagnosis. In court, Gaines was clearly agitated.
All the evidence shows that you deliberately.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Things escalated quickly.
I know
The words were that you deliberately were hawking up.
Bullshit. I didn't hawk up no saliva, okay? That's bullshit. And you're gonna believe those lies. That's what I'm talking about. Deputy.
Look at me.
It's like eating. You ain't gotta scream at me.
The judge actually laughed in disbelief.
You gonna raise your voice at me?
Oh my God.
You raise your voice to me, I raise my voice to you. You just in a row.
But he didn't stop with the judge. He insulted everyone.
I appreciate Mr. Gaines making my point for me.
You
Very well received.
maggot mother.
And I don't think I have to take insults from
I know. You use a
He's a tough guy now.
use a
But I think
and you'll be a after I get sentenced.
With Gaines and the prosecutor hurling curses back and forth, the judge can't stop laughing.
I think Mr. Gaines has forfeited to me. He's put his.
I'm ready to go. I was ready to go. You punk.
Then things quickly sour.
I'm talking. Take out of the courtroom.
He's a maggot.
Yeah, you're a tough guy.
He's a maggot. You should have died when you was a baby.
Yeah.
Maggot.
Anytime, Mr. Gaines.
Shut up. He's a maggot. Should have died when you was a baby. Stillborn.
Gaines's attack, plus his dirty mouth, earned him an extra 13 and a half years in prison. Gaines's life was ruined by hurling one single curse word at the judge. But what happens when an inmate unleashes a whole host of them?
I am going to appoint the public defender for you.
That's horse. You do whatever the you want.
Like in the case of Dale Greenman, who's charged with theft in Orlando, Florida. Greenman was arrested after stealing Gatorade, a pack of cigarettes, and a lighter from 7-Eleven. His bond was set at $250, but he's in court hoping the state will have an even better offer. However, he's about to get disappointed.
You were arrested for petty theft. Did you find probable cause? Ms. Kenny Swanson, did you have an offer?
I did not, Your Honor.
No offer? Is that due to the out-of-state criminal history?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to the theft, Greenman had been charged with tampering with evidence in another state.
So, Mr. Greenman, you have prior history out of state, and so the state may enhance this offense to a felony based on your prior. So I can't do anything with your case today.
The judge just told Greenman he wouldn't be eligible for any deals, and he doesn't take the news well.
That's horse. You do whatever the you want.
Excuse me?
My name is Mr. Greenman. I'm the federal witness of the United States federal government. I demand respect. You. Let's get a jail crowd along y'all did and figure out what you're doing.
All right, he can be removed once y'all get him out.
Now.
After that emotional outburst, Greenman was dragged out of court and into jail. The judge, however, seemed completely unfazed.
All right then. No contact with any victims or witnesses in the case. And I'm going to set his bond at $1,000.
The officers returned to wipe down the podium, which was now full of Greenman's spit. But how can spit compare to a defendant who hails Hitler in the courtroom?
One day, my spirit will rise from my grave, and you all know that I was right.
Like in the case of Frazier Glenn Cross, who's charged with triple homicide in Overland Park, Kansas. Cross, an established white supremacist, was arrested after he shot and killed 3 people outside a Jewish community center and retirement home in 2014. He killed 53-year-old Terry Lamano, 69-year-old William Corcoran, and his 14-year-old grandson, Reet Underwood, none of whom were Jewish. Police got there within minutes, but it was too late. Now in handcuffs, Cross faced the ultimate punishment, the death penalty. However, he wasn't scared.
I spent 20 years in the Army, 2 tours in Vietnam.
Let me tell you, Mr. Miller. Stop.
I earned the right of speech.
Stop.
Freedom of speech.
Stop.
So you a damn whore for the damn Jews. Sitting in their own judgment. You are a damn whore for the Jews.
Don't take a break.
Cross was thrown out of court, but when he came back, he said something even more unhinged.
The state must prove my criminal intent. I submit that I had no criminal intent. I had a patriotic intent to stop the genocide against my people.
He even said he regretted his actions, but not for the reason you think.
And I do apologize for those who died. And I thought they were Jews. I wouldn't have shot them otherwise.
His only goal was to spread his racist views, so when the judge refused to give him internet access in jail, he blew his top.
I don't even want to participate in this trial if you're going to gag me. Just let me stay in my cell.
Judge, let your attorneys talk.
I fire him right now. I don't have an attorney.
Thank you,
I think you just want to protect the Jews. You don't want me to tell the truth about the Jews.
But that's nothing compared to his reaction after learning his sentence.
To carry out the sentence of death by lethal injection as provided by Kansas law.
One day, my spirit will rise from my grave, and you all know that I was right.
In the end, Cross died in prison at the age of 80. Cross's courtroom behavior was nothing short of shocking. But what happens when a defendant is desperate to stay out of prison?
11 years. Yeah. For being innocent. You're kidding me. 11 years. That's 11 years. There's no more. 11? That's enough. I could die now.
Like in the case of Jack Whitaker, who's charged with manslaughter in Portland, Oregon. In April of 2010, Jack Whitaker was high on meth when he crashed into the car of Kayla Wilson, who was 5 months pregnant.
On April 15, 2010, he was high on meth when he lost control of his Jeep and smashed nearly head-on into Kayla's Buick as she drove home from a job interview.
The crash sent Kayla into a coma. A few weeks later, she successfully delivered her baby through C-section. However, she remained in a near vegetative state for 8 years before ultimately succumbing to her injuries. In court, Kayla's dad couldn't hold back his tears.
I had to let go of the Kayla I once knew and accept the new Kayla I had because she could talk and she could move.
However, during the emotional testimony, Whitaker loudly interrupted.
Kayla is 21 years old and has been in a hospital bed for 2 years. This April.
I've been in jail for 2 years for not doing it.
She will never know her mom and dad again.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
He claimed innocence, even after the jury said otherwise.
And just because the jury found me guilty does not mean that I'm guilty. And that's why I cannot show remorse, because I did not do it.
Interrupting the victim's father is bad enough, but Whitaker doesn't stop there. Next, he interrupted the judge.
Mr. Whitaker, you had a chance already. This is my opportunity.
Yeah, well, I didn't do it.
Then it was time for Whitaker to learn his fate.
This is you've been sentenced to 11 years.
11 years?
Yeah.
For being innocent? You're kidding me. 11 years? That's
11
what it is?
years.
There's no more? 11? That's enough. I could die here.
Whitaker, still in disbelief, allowed deputies to put him in handcuffs. While Whitaker used his words as weapons, how does that compare to a defendant who uses his own bodily fluids?
There's no way I'm going to try this case or have any further proceedings, or I have to see you for one further setting. Set preliminary hearings next week. Charge.
Like in the case of Bass Webb, who's charged with 2 counts of attempted murder in Paris, Kentucky. Webb had just gotten out of jail when, apparently, he decided he wanted to go back. Pulling out of the parking lot, Webb spotted 2 prison guards going to work. That's when he floored it and attempted to run them over.
Surveillance video from the Bourbon County Jail, which shows a car barrel down on 2 jailers, hitting and nearly killing them.
One guard was able to escape, but another guard had to be hospitalized for his injuries. In court, Judge Dixon refused to work on the case for a very personal reason.
There's no way I'm going to try this case or have any further proceedings, or I have to see you for one further setting. Set preliminary.
Webb's victims were close personal friends of hers. However, when she sent Webb away, Webb retaliated.
Set preliminary hearings next week.
Webb launched a spitball right at Judge Dixon's face and landed it. She forced Webb to watch as she cleaned her face. Then she sent him away for good. But if you thought you'd seen the last of him, think again. While awaiting trial, Webb incited a violent prison riot. Webb refused to yield, even after SWAT teams were brought in.
Out in the sub-day room, refusing to return to their cells. They are armed with weapons.
They sprayed him with pepper bullets. But that only made things worse. Webb, who had ripped a telephone box from the wall, slung it at a corrections officer. Eventually, SWAT teams sprayed tear gas to scatter and capture the rioters. After Webb was subdued, a new judge finally revealed Webb's sentence.
I will accept the jury's recommendation of 5 years on count 1, enhanced to 15 years pursuant to the persistent felony offender first degree.
Webb was sentenced to 15 years for the riot and another 37 for the attempted murders. Webb's bad behavior made his judge drop the case. But how can that compare to a judge who screams at the defendant from the podium?
You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
Like in the case of Camia Gamet, who's charged with first-degree murder in Jackson, Michigan. Gamet was arrested in the vicious killing of her boyfriend, Marcel Hill. According to the evidence, she bludgeoned Hill with a floor lamp, frying pan, a nightstand, and a large knife. Hill later died from blood loss. However, Gamet claimed the murder was actually self-defense.
What had woke me up was when the glass broke. It was just loud glass, and I didn't know at first what it was.
She said she woke up to a loud sound and thought an intruder had broken in.
So I started trying to turn on the lamp, and all the while I'm doing this, I was getting hit in my head.
After realizing it was her boyfriend attacking her, Gamet says she fought back with whatever she could find.
I never went and got the knife. The knife was already there. I started swinging the lamp, and the lamp had hit Marcel. And I turned, and he was still hitting me.
She claims she didn't realize he was dead until it was too late.
It really didn't hit me, like I didn't really realize that I had stabbed him. I just kind of, in my mind, like I just thought I was fighting him, and it happened so fast. And I ran out the house, and I started calling 911. By the time they got there, it was too late.
However, Judge McBain didn't buy her story.
Gutted him like a fish in that apartment, too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. You didn't think he was an intruder. You know, maybe one stab wound, okay, maybe that's 7 defense. But you put in 11 more to make sure he was good and dead.
Gamet maintained her innocence even after the jury found her guilty.
I just want to say that I stick by the truth, which is that I did react in self-defense. I did love Marcel, and basically at trial, the way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies.
Gamet's lack of remorse was Judge McBain's last straw.
I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, and if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
Gamet was sentenced to life in prison for the murder. Gamet may have gotten an earful from the judge, but how can that compare to a defendant who has to be carried out of court after killing an innocent child? Like in the case of Desmond Jones, who's facing charges of engaging in organized criminal activity in Dallas, Texas. In 2017, a high-ranking member of a rival South Dallas drug gang stole thousands of dollars worth of marijuana from Jones's house. In retribution, Jones and a group of gang members kidnapped 13-year-old Siobhan Rindle, a relative of the rival gang member's girlfriend, and held her for days until ultimately shooting her to death. Rindle's parents reported the kidnapping, and after finding the preteen's body, they traced the crime back to Jones. In court, Rindle's cousin said Jones kidnapped the girl for ransom.
They was like, you better not get the police involved, bring us our drugs, and they hung up the phone.
What did the person say?
If he don't bring me back the drugs, then I'm going to kill the.
According to documents, Rindle was killed after seeing her kidnapper's face. During the trial, Jones showed no remorse. But that would all change after sentencing. The judge sentenced Jones to 99 years in prison, and Jones had a breakdown. Jones cursed and threatened the victim's family. Then, things escalated.
Out! Out! Sit down, Jones, sit down. Sit down!
At first, Jones followed the deputy's instructions, but not for long. Desmond was carried out by the cops, with his mother wailing in the background. Desmond's crime was unthinkable, but what would happen if the victim of a heinous crime turned out to be the mastermind behind it all? Like in the case of Jussie Smollett, who's charged with 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct in Chicago, Illinois. Smollett, who played Jamal Lyon in Empire, made a panicked 911 call after 2 men broke into his house. Smollett claimed the attackers, motivated by homophobia and racism, put a noose around his neck.
You want to take it off or anything?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted y'all to see. There's a bleach on me. If you want bleach on me.
During news interviews, Smollett revealed more details about the attack.
Walking, and then I heard Empire. So I turned around and I said, did you just say to me? And I see, he said, this MAGA country punches me right in the face. So I punched his ass back. And I want a little gay boy who might watch this to see that I fought back.
He claimed the attackers fled after threatening him, and after weeks of investigation, police finally revealed their findings.
Smollett paid $3,500 to stage this attack and drag Chicago's reputation through the mud in the process.
The real culprit of this hate crime was Smollett himself. Police discovered that he paid brothers Abel and Ola Osundario to stage the attack, all in an attempt to get attention and a higher salary for his role on Empire. After that, people saw his interview in a whole new light.
You do such a disservice when you lie about things like this. I still want to believe, with everything that has happened, that there's something called justice.
Smollett was arrested for his crimes. The public was shocked and outraged at his lies, but that can't compare to the outrage of Smollett's judge.
Your very name has become an adverb for lying, and I cannot imagine what could be worse than that. You let that dark, narcissistic, selfish, and arrogant side come out, and you persisted with it for years on this case.
Then it was time for Smollett to learn his sentence.
I'm fashioning the following sentence, and here's your sentence. I'm sentencing you to 30 months felony probation, and the probation is going to be to this court. You will pay restitution to the city of Chicago in the amount of $120,106. You are fined $25,000, which is the maximum fine, and you will spend the first 150 days of your sentence in the Cook County Jail, and that will start today, right here, right now.
But if you thought Smollett would go away quietly, think again.
No, I would just like to say to Your Honor that I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this, and I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that.
As Smollett was led away, he had one last word.
I am not suicidal. I am not suicidal. And I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
Smollett's fake activism may have seemed over the top, but how can that compare to a defendant who tries to flip the podium?
Oh, let's not. Not right now.
Like in the case of Donald Roberts, who's charged with robbery, assault with intent to rob, larceny, and refusing fingerprinting in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Roberts, who was representing himself, had just finished complaining about the small book selection in the library jail.
I think that's sufficient for the time being. But,
Then, Assistant Prosecutor Brenda Taylor interrupts.
Your Honor, I'm asking the court to use the report dated July 25th of Dr. Smith for purposes of finding incompetency, and I'm asking the court to find the defendant incompetent and to order him to the Forensic Center for treatment and restoring of competency.
Roberts seems upset about the change in topic.
I don't want to reiterate.
No, I've already ruled on that anyway.
This time, it's Roberts' turn to interrupt.
what about my discovery? Let's talk about that.
Oh, let's not. Not right now.
Upset at the judge's dismissal, Roberts attempted to flip the podium. When he couldn't lift it, he instead slammed into a lawyer, attempting to inflict maximum damage as spectators fled and deputies closed in. Officers quickly subdued Roberts, narrowly missing what could have been a violent explosion. After that display, the judge forbade Roberts from representing himself, appointing a public defender instead. Later, Roberts pled no contest to the larceny charge. The court dropped the other charges and sentenced Roberts to 22 months in jail. While Donald Roberts' courtroom actions can be blamed on mental illness, what happens when a defendant refuses to get arrested? Like in the case of Michael McDonald, who's charged with violating his bond in Las Vegas, Nevada. 1 year ago, McDonald was involved in a nasty divorce. So nasty that his ex-wife filed a restraining order to keep him away from their kids after he broke into their house. However, just months afterwards, McDonald violated the restraining order.
When the defendant Michael McDonald was released on his own recognizance last April by Judge Israel, one of his release conditions was to have no contact with the individual, his ex-wife named Candace Ruiz. Prior approximately a month ago in June, he then mailed a number of items to his wife's address, although they were addressed to the children.
McDonald sent gifts to his 2 children, something McDonald's attorney says he didn't know was against the rules.
He sent 2 gifts, that's it. No nasty notes with them, no diagrams, no nothing. Mr. McDonald is not violent nor a threat to the community. He has had no allegations of violence. He has stayed substantively away.
His attorney asked for the judge to forgive the trespass, but the judge had other ideas.
I would note that back in the family court, he constantly violated orders. He would always insist that the order said something else. Because of his bizarre behavior, putting a tracking device on his wife's vehicle, and so I'm seeing the same type of conduct, and it's an obsession.
This is the moment McDonald hears the judge's final decision.
I'm not sure that he is capable of controlling himself because he wasn't before. So based upon that, I am granting the motion.
McDonald's request was just denied, and now he is going to jail. McDonald flips out.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Greg, can you please tell him I just got a mental out already done? Dude. Awesome. Stop. Come on.
Upset with the decision, he resists arrest, but that only makes things worse.
How's your back?
Mike, calm down. Just relax. Deep breath.
Mike,
take a deep breath.
I got a mental eval. I just want to see my kids. Come on. I've done nothing.
Mike,
Just take it
calm
backwards.
down. Dude.
His attorney tries to get him to calm down, but it clearly doesn't work.
Guys, come on. You're gonna really throw me in jail because I miss my kids. Come on.
Assistance in 15 Charlie. 15 Charlie.
Stop. Come on, please, guys. Please, I don't want to.
Deputies struggle to get McDonald under control. Meanwhile, his lawyers keep trying to calm him down.
Mike, stop fighting with him. I'll have to go over there and help him with the cuffs on you. Don't fight with him.
You understand? I'm gonna tase you.
Don't fight with him. With the handcuffs on.
Finally, the lawyer's patience snaps.
Mike, put the f***ing handcuffs on. Or I'll put them on myself.
Craig, come on.
I'm on your side, Mike, but you're out of line.
Surprisingly, that worked.
I just want to see my kids. Now I'm getting prosecuted as an enemy of the state. I just want to. I've done nothing.
McDonald was finally handcuffed and taken to jail. The judge sentenced him to 2 to 6 years in prison. These deputies had to wrestle McDonald into handcuffs. But how does that compare to a defendant who has to be carried out by her elbows?
13 years? The f*** is this bullshit?
Like in the case of Sarah Bunch, who's charged with manslaughter, arson, and attempted tampering with evidence in Northwood, Ohio. In December of 2008, Bunch was arrested at the scene of an arson after firefighters found the body of 60-year-old Robert Porter shot to death inside of his burning home. Police accused Bunch of shooting Porter and then committing arson to cover up her crime. However, Bunch claims she shot Porter in self-defense as he was attempting to assault her. In court, the judge had trouble believing Bunch's story.
I'm having a hard time understand how someone's coming towards you and the second shot is in the back of their head. Can you explain that to me?
Bunch burst into tears defending her character.
I really was a good person. I had 2 jobs. You know, I have custody of my kid. I was doing what I needed to do.
However, despite her apparent remorse, Bunch refused to apologize to the family.
The last and certainly the most vivid memory his grandchildren have of him is him laying dead in a casket over a senseless and to them confusing act of violence.
Throughout the trial, Bunch constantly rolled her eyes in disrespect, but her attitude quickly changed when the judge announced his sentence.
13 years? The f*** is this bullshit?
When the judge sentenced her to 13 years, Bunch screamed, cried, and fought deputies all the way out of the courtroom door. But she wasn't the only one who got upset.
Guys, I want to tell you something.
Her father in the audience also exploded. However, this courtroom explosion is nothing compared to that of Alan McCarty Jr.
You wanna fucking take my kids from me and act like that? Fuck you and that fucking bitch!
This is Alan McCarty Jr., who's charged with threatening a judge in Daytona Beach, Florida. It all started when McCarty, who was going through a nasty divorce, lost custody of his children. Enraged, he called the courthouse to air his grievances.
Communications, Warhurst.
Yeah, I want to report a crime that's about to happen.
What do you mean a crime that's about to happen?
Yeah, there's about to be a crime that's going to happen if my kids don't come back to me, you stupid. Because your stupid judges don't want to bring people to courtrooms. I got a gun pointed at your building.
Sir, what is going on?
Who the are you calling, sir, you stupid? Don't call me names. You call me names, I'm going to call you some. I ain't your sir, you dumb. Where's your Judge Warren at? You going to bring that out in handcuffs and I'm going to execute that right in the street.
Okay.
Do you hear me, you stupid?
Okay, I'm going to disconnect the line, sir.
When that receptionist hung up, McCarty tried another line.
Communications, Braithwaite, how can I help you?
Yeah, I need to put your judge on the phone.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You hear me? Put your stupid Judge Warren on the phone, you.
Okay, first of all, you are not going to talk to me like that.
Yeah, because Judge Warren wants to sabotage children's cases with their parents. I'm going to murder that. Where's your judge at, boy?
While McCarty talked, deputies tracked his location and arrested him. In court, McCarty was even less civil.
McCarty, President, he's under oath from the start of the trial.
No, I'm not. I'm not under oath.
All right, raise your right hand when I swear you in. That's your bad finger. I didn't appreciate that.
But he didn't stop at gestures.
My daddy owns the building and I look like a fucking idiot, huh? Brought your dress today, you little fucking prick. Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to think over here. Fuck bitch.
On the road. It's done. Yes, sir.
The judge ordered deputies to take McCarty to a separate room so he could still hear the proceedings but not interrupt. However, things didn't go quite according to plan.
I talked to you about this before. Mr. McCarty's chosen to voluntarily absent himself as opposed to doing other. Sorry, we got to deal with it, folks. I've chosen that room as opposed to duct tape.
Eventually, the judge brought McCarty back in on one condition.
I'm going to tell you to be quiet, and you need to be quiet. There's not going to be a second time. If there's a second time, I'm going to duct tape.
I'm going to tell you, you just threatened my life to duct tape me. Did everybody just hear that? You just threatened to duct tape me? Really? In the courtroom, a judge just threatened to duct tape me.
I said
you just said on record you're going to duct tape me.
Obviously, McCarty didn't take that threat too well.
No, I refuse. No, I refuse. I refuse. He threatened to duct tape me. He threatened to duct tape me. The judge threatened my life. I am scared. I want to be removed.
His tantrum showed no signs of stopping.
You threatened my life. I want to be removed from this room. You threatened my life. I want to be removed.
Finally, the judge gave in.
I am in fear of you right now, and I want to be removed.
See you.
I want to be removed. Thank you.
See you on Thursday for your trial.
Bring the dress. You look sweet.
But the trial wasn't over yet, and the show had to go on.
Number one, you threatened the unborn child of the prosecutor directly.
What a bunch of guys, you stupid piece of
Then also,
you threatened my life, you
in the
you
back room.
Suck my dick.
Again, removing McCarty from the scene did nothing to calm him down. McCarty was still in the back room when the judge revealed his fate.
Count 1, I'm going to adjudicate him guilty, sentence him to 15 years in Florida State Prison. As to count 2, I'm going to adjudicate him guilty, sentence him to 5 years to run consecutive to count 1.
McCarty was sentenced to 20 years in prison. McCarty's threats are horrible enough, but how does that compare to a KKK member whose hate crime left 3 train passengers dead? Like in the case of Jeremy Christian, who's facing charges for 2 murders and 1 attempted murder in Portland, Oregon. It all started on May 26, 2017, when Christian boarded a public transport bus after a night of drinking and immediately started threatening the driver.
It's like, we got a Christian or Muslim bus driver, I'll stab you too.
One passenger, Demetria Hester, asked Christian to stop, but then his target became her.
As I got off the train, he lunged at me with a Gatorade bottle filled with fluid and hit me in my right eye. And I grabbed my mace and sprayed him in the face with mace.
Christian fled without further incident, but the next day he boarded the train again. When he started yelling at 2 black teenagers in a hijab, bystanders stepped in to defend them. Micah Fletcher repeatedly pushed Christian into a seat, but that only made things worse. He ordered Christian to get off the train. That's when Christian took out a knife. He fatally stabbed Talisan Namkai Mechi and Ricky Best and slashed Micah Fletcher before leaving the train. He stormed off, brandishing the bloody knife. Minutes later, police found Christian walking down the street and surrounded him. In court, Christian showed zero remorse.
I shoved 2 people who confronted me while I was sitting in my seat. And I said, what are you going to do? We're going to fight, but I'm not backing down. That's what happened. They wanted to fight. I do regret that 2 people died, but I do not regret my actions that led to their death.
It seems impossible, but he became even more vile when his first victim, Demetria Hester, took the stand.
You are a waste of breath, and when you die and go to hell, I hope you rot.
See you there, bitch.
No, hey.
Go back to Tennessee, too.
What do I tell you?
Go back to Tennessee, too.
You can.
We don't want you here. All your race-baiting bullshit.
Bye.
You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch. You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch. You fucking hoe. You fucking hoe. You fucking up my whole city. George Floyd. George Floyd. I should have killed you, bitch. I should have killed your bitch ass. Everybody knows you're a liar. Everybody knows you're a liar, huh?
Then his other victims took the stand.
Was there he said, kill yourself. He was saying, fuck Muslims. Saying, go back to Saudi Arabia.
Telling us that because of our religion or because of our color that we don't deserve to be here and that we don't deserve to live. But I feel like that doesn't make sense. Like, I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, so...
Christian claimed he used self-defense against the 3 men who stood up against him, but the defense attorney had other ideas.
Self-defense does not apply because he provoked it because he was the initial aggressor.
Then the jury came back with their verdict.
On count 1, the verdict is guilty. That's murder in the first degree. On count 2, murder in the first degree. The verdict is guilty. On count 3, attempted murder in the first degree. The verdict is guilty.
After that, it was time for Christian to learn his sentence.
On count 1, It is a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of release or parole. On count 2, that is the charge of murder in the first degree through life imprisonment without the possibility of release or parole for the reasons mentioned in count 1.
Christian was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Christian's verbal courtroom assault was directed at his victims. But what happens when a defendant verbally assaults a judge?
22 years!
Like in the case of Manson Bryant, who's facing charges for burglary and kidnapping near Cleveland, Ohio. Bryant was in court after getting caught robbing a trailer home with 2 female accomplices. Unlike his accomplices, Bryant had a huge criminal rap sheet, something the judge kept in mind.
The last time before this time that I had him, I put him in prison for 4 years for a robbery. He acted out briefly on his way out of the courtroom, and I just let it go. Well, it was clear that the remorse that he was trying to portray was phony, and that he wasn't remorseful at all, and that if given the chance, if I let him loose on society, he's going to prey on other people.
However, the judge was taken by surprise at Bryant's reaction to hearing his sentence.
With credit for 231 days. The court determines that you have or will have the ability to pay restitution.
Bryant is speechless at first, but then it sinks in.
Courtroom, you racist ass bitch. Fuck courtroom, man. You racist as fuck. You racist as fuck. Nigga, 22 fucking years. Racist ass bitch. You ain't shit. Nigga, Jay Sturgeon, Lisa Sturgeon told me about that bullshit.
Actually, you know.
You never gave me probation.
Wait a minute.
You never gave me a chance.
The court determines maximum imprisonment is needed. So it's 11 years on count 1 and 11 years on count 3.
Because of Bryant's outburst, the judge added another 6 years to his sentence, increasing the total from 22 to 28 years. Bryant may have verbally assaulted the judge, but what happens when a defendant physically assaults their judge? Like in the case of Melissa Hardwick, who's charged with domestic abuse and terroristic threats in Monticello, Kentucky. Back in 2008, Hardwick's husband filed for divorce and a restraining order, claiming Hardwick was domestically abusive. In response, Hardwick took her ex-husband to court to convince a judge to give her back child custody. In court, Hardwick constantly interrupted her ex-husband.
My personal life is your business. It has nothing to do with
Miss Hardwick.
No.
You will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
Judge Edwards threatened her with contempt, but Hardwick refused to back down.
I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She will be arrested for contempt of the court.
It doesn't make any difference.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court.
The judge followed through on the threat, and it sent Hardwick over the edge.
Go now.
Hardwick rushed the podium, attempting to jump it and attack Judge Edwards. Deputies pulled her down just in time, wrestling her to the floor and into a pair of handcuffs. Hardwick's fists were restrained, but not her mouth.
Get off of me!
Hands behind your back.
Wait and see.
After spitting out one last threat against the judge's life, Hardwick was removed from court.
You'll be sad when it happens, Jennifer.
Meanwhile, Judge Edwards is unfazed.
A new judge will have to be appointed to represent because she will be charged criminally for the threats that were made in open court today.
She recused herself from the case, but she has one last judgment to make.
Emergency protective order will remain in place of no contact.
The judge upheld the ex-husband's restraining order. For the attack, Hardwick was sentenced to 4 months in jail, 5 years probation, and mandatory anger management classes. Attacking a judge is bad enough. How does it compare to using bodily fluids to show discontent?
You just gave him 4 years. Well, guess what? Sir, what's this?
like in the case of Ricky Hand, who's facing charges for serial robbery in Springfield, Ohio. Back in 2016, Hand visited multiple stores in Springfield and robbed them at gunpoint. Little did he know, this would be his last robbery. The owner sees Hand in the security cameras and he gets ready.
No! Get the hell!
Scared for his life, Hand makes a break for it. Meanwhile, the owner calls 911.
Yeah, this is John's drive-thru. It's West Main Street. A guy just tried to rob me and I shot him. He ran out the back door.
Okay, is he injured?
I think I hit him.
Hours later, they find the culprit at a hospital, getting treatment for gunshot wounds. During the interrogation, Hand shockingly admitted to everything.
I did a crime, I ain't gonna lie. I just wanted to let you know.
There have been probably a half a dozen or more robberies. Now you're looking at John's, you're looking at this break into this beauty salon.
That's all I've done.
The beauty salon's a bonus because I didn't even know anything about that, and you told me that.
I'm going to prison for a long time.
Well, you know that.
Despite his confession, Hand hoped that the judge would go easy on him during trial. But when he heard his sentence,
Did you just give me 40 years, sir?
he was in for a rude awakening.
You just gave me 40 years. Well, guess what?
Enraged at his sentence, Hand decided to take his revenge.
Sir, what's this?
Hand reached into his cast, where he had hidden a toxic mixture of his own feces and urine, and threw the biohazardous contents onto his own lawyer.
You can't play Jesus and God? What's wrong with you? Man! 40 is a death sentence, man!
Police got the enraged criminal under control, but Hand refused to calm down. Ricky's explosive outbursts are frightening enough, but how does that compare to a defendant who cusses himself into a jail sentence?
You know what? You got a bad attitude. You had a bad attitude last time you were in court.
You and her are buddy-buddy. Y'all get along. Y'all are
45 days county jail.
Like in the case of Jacob Larson, who's charged with violating a restraining order in Jackson, Michigan. Judge McBain ordered Larson to comply with the order, but he refused.
I told you to just leave her alone. She was a classmate of yours. She apparently has no interest in
I want her to come and leave her alone.
McBain slapped Larson with a 3-day jail sentence, but Larson wasn't fazed.
You know what? I told you to leave her alone. And apparently that didn't get through loud and clear. So today, you're going to jail for 3 days.
Things only got worse.
You and her all. Hey, you know what? You got a bad attitude. You had a bad attitude last time you were in court. You were even referencing discussions about my own daughter. Okay?
You and her are buddy-buddy. Y'all get along. Y'all are
45 days county jail. Okay. 93 days in the county jail. You want to go for a year? Try it right now.
The judge was finished with the conversation, but Larson wouldn't give up.
I never threatened.
Stand up. Couple. Stand up.
Buddy, motherfucker.
Stand up. You're going to a jail for a year in the county. 365 days county jail.
Can't do that.
Appeal it.
I will.
Then, Larson turned his attention to the victim.
I'll leave you alone. I'm going to leave you alone. Tell me right now.
Put your hands behind your back.
But this time, Larson was outmatched.
Put your hands behind your back. Cases right now.
Then the judge joined the fight, ready to take Larson down.
Put it down. That's enough for you. All right? Get your taser.
I'll bust your fucking arm. Put my hand down like that, damn.
It didn't take long for Larson to be restrained. Eventually, Larson was dragged out of court. Judge McMain reinstated the restraining order and ordered a final sentence of 93 days in jail. That's 93 more days that Larson would have had if he kept his mouth shut. Larson's obvious lack of remorse is sickening. But how does that compare to a murderer who jeers at his victim's mother during trial? Like in the case of Seandell Jackson, who's facing charges for capital murder in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Back in 2009, Jackson tried to rob 21-year-old Nathan Potter on his way home from class. But when Potter didn't have cash, Jackson shot and killed him. Now in court, Jackson couldn't care less about his crime, and it devastated the Potter family.
They shot him. They dragged him and kicked him to the curb. My son, my God-loving boy. What kind of people do this? But evil people.
Judge, there is nothing that can be said to bring back our Nathan. But your sentence can ensure that Seandell does not have the opportunity as a free man to inflict pain like this again. Is there such thing as pure evil? We think so.
As the judge announced his guilty verdict, both families had emotional breakdowns, but nobody expected Jackson's reaction.
I am going to go ahead on count 1, the first-degree intentional homicide conviction, and I am going to sentence Mr. Jackson to life imprisonment without possibility for extended supervision.
He turned and jeered at the family, heartlessly laughing at their pain.
No remorse whatsoever. Seem to be proud of it.
We see how evil Seandell is in court, looking at us, swearing at us, and smiling.
But Jackson's false bravado wouldn't protect him for long. At the sentencing hearing, Jackson hoped for an easy prison sentence, but after his behavior in court, the judge wasn't so merciful. She sentenced him to life in prison without parole, and Jackson lost it.
I know that is something that is reserved for the most serious of cases, and I believe that this case rises to that level.
Jackson turned his head toward the Potter family, but deputies were ready for him. But Jackson wouldn't go down that easy. Jackson's tantrum was quickly stopped, but that didn't stop his family from causing a scene. Jackson's outburst earned him the harshest punishment possible. But what happens when a defendant decides to just walk out in the middle of sentencing?
With MSP, your 15 to be hereby suspended.
James, sit up. James, sit.
Like in the case of James Wasson, who's charged with the sexual exploitation of minors and creation of child abuse material in Houston, Texas. In May of 2020, a minor notified the police about Wasson's sexual abuse toward her. When they searched his phone and computer, they found over 500 photos and videos of him inappropriately touching multiple underage victims. Now in court, Wasson is about to face his punishment. With each sentence, the judge adds to Wasson's prison sentence.
The court hereby sentences the defendant to 10 years MSP with 3 years suspended.
But when the total climbs past 26 years, Wasson can't take it anymore.
The court also sentences the defendant to 10 years MSP with 3 years suspended on each count. Each of these counts shall run consecutive to each other. So the sentence in DC 17.
After whistling in disbelief, Wasson decides he's heard enough and tries to leave the courtroom. The police block his path.
267
I'm good, let's go.
Is Is 50 years MSP?
No, I'm good with both.
Is 50 years with MSP, with 15 to be hereby suspended?
The higher his sentence became, the more agitated Wasson acted, but the police were ready for him.
To be hereby suspended.
James, sit up. James, sit. Take him out of here, man.
Didn't matter.
Wasson had no choice but to sit down and listen. The judge finally revealed his verdict: 30 years in jail. To that, Wasson had only one response.
You can suck my head.
Luckily for Wasson, the judge didn't add any additional time for the insult. But how does that compare to a defendant who attacks their own attorney? Like in the case of Christopher Teal, who's charged with rape and kidnapping in Seattle, Washington. Records show that Teal, who was homeless, stalked a woman into the bathroom of a Volkswagen dealership where he held her hostage and assaulted her until store employees broke down the door. In court, Teal's handcuffs were removed to prevent jury bias.
The state defendant is present in custody with counsel. This is a defense motion to continue the trial date to which the state has no objection. I'll defer to counsel and, if necessary, ask for a brief opportunity to respond.
Everything was going smoothly until Teal did this.
Standing from his counsel, who I'll defer to in a moment, that they are now stipulating that Mr. Teal.
Completely unprompted, Teal smacked his attorney in the back of the head. Officers tackled him, but it was too late. The damage was done.
Get down! Face down! Face down! Get down on the back!
Christopher resisted the deputies, but with a team of 3 officers on his back, he was quickly overpowered. The next time Teal was allowed in court, he was tied to a chair. Surprisingly, he had something more important on his mind.
I got one question, one thing to say. I'd like to know where the they got that photo of me with my short hair. Because that was on Facebook, and I don't have a Facebook.
All right.
So you're on that. Legitimate question. Like, do they have access to Google?
Because of the attack, Teal was forced to find a new lawyer. Not that it made a difference. Teal was sentenced to 8 years in prison for his original crimes. However, the sentence for his attack has not been released.